I have a sweet story to tell you about Lending Club versus Upstart versus Prosper, which is the best peer-to-peer lender websites out there for investors and borrowers. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Story Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous if you were to ask me. If you are doing as superb as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. Into this conversation, I want to quickly talk to you about the best peer-to-peer lending websites. And Lending Club, Upstart, and Prosper are part of that elite group, if you will. And just going to quickly give you an overview here. When we talk about peer-to-peer lending sites, they differ primarily from the kind of loans they extend, from the kind of target audience they have. For example, if you have a poor credit score, or you have a business that is not showing substantial profits yet, you can still get some loans from those platforms because they have a vast gamut of criteria that they use when it comes to screening and approving loans. And one thing you also have to remember here is that P2P lenders in the United States are required to register with the Federal Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, but each state has different regulations regarding securities. So you want to check each P2P lending website to see if your state allows you to invest in or borrow from that company, that particular company. So one thing we also seen in our research is that, and that's one of the reasons why those P2P websites are very popular, is that they allow you to check your interest rate or apply for a pre-approval, often called a soft inquiry. And this soft inquiry will not adversely impact your credit score. So applications, as we all know, applications for traditional loans usually affect your credit score, right? Because you have the hard inquiry. So similar to typical loans, P2P sites base your interest rate on your credit score, your credit history, your loan amounts, and terms. In other words, the duration of the loan, the period you've chosen to repay your loan. And it's also very important that as a borrower, there are a lot of advantages when it comes to going to those platforms. What about investors? What are the perks here? The perks are pretty diverse. First, you have the ability to invest on specific projects that could be high risk, but also high rewards, right? You have the ability to have a double-digit ROI, something that you cannot have with a traditional loan. If you buy a bond, if you buy a company's bond, if you're lucky, you're probably around 3% or 2%. That is, if the company is a AAA rated. And if you want to go to into junk territory for junk bonds, then the rewards are higher, but the risk also is high. When it comes to P2P lending or P2P investing, you also have some kind of risk here, but that risk is calculated, and a lot of backers behind companies like Lending Club, Upstart, and Prosper, they have some kind of fintech background. So they use AI, artificial intelligence, and other, I would say, quant methods to rank and rate the risk of a particular borrower. Before I get into the nitty-gritty, please check out this short video. It tells you about our evaluation approach. We do have a rigorous approach when it comes to evaluating, categorizing, and listing all the loans and all the P2P websites we review on this show. Check this out. Okay, let's first talk about Lending Club. Now, Lending Club is one of the biggies in the P2P space here, and they are the clear leader in the industry. They have been around for so long, and Lending Club has built a solid reputation since becoming one of the first peer-to-peer lending sites, and they have granted more than $20 billion in loans since 2007, and they continue to have a loyal base of investors. So not just investors, but also borrowers. And they have consistently received rave reviews in all the surveys, and they're doing great. This is a company that's well run. They also offer competitive APRs, flexible terms, excellent customer service, good investment options, and more. And you can actually obtain small business loans up to $300,000 and or get a personal loan up to $40,000 for a variety of reasons. And Lending Club has competition, but the cool thing here is that their reputation is hard to beat. So let's sort of dig a little deeper here. What are the pros and cons? Pros: solid reputation, history, and financial backing. There is a wide variety of personal lending loan types. The higher maximum personal loan amount than most, 40 grand, that's most than most competitors. You can borrow up to 300,000 for a small business loan, and they offer a business line of credit. You have a variety of terms, so you have 2, 3, or 5 year personal loans and 1 to 5 year small business loans. Borrowers get a dedicated advisor. For investors, not as many risky borrowers as some other P2P sites, and you have more investment types than most, including IRA and 401k rollover. They have excellent customer service, and they have an A plus rating from the Triple B, the Better Business Bureau. And what are the cons here? For borrowers, more selective with who gets approved. So minimum credit score not listed, but has to be around 640, according to our research. The high end of APR rate is above average. Investors incur hefty collection fees if the loan goes unpaid. And there's no weekend customer service hours. And there's a check processing fee of $7 per month if you choose to make loan payments by check. Let's talk about Upstart here. So Upstart is a kind of is an interesting player also, and they have been doing fantastic work in the last few years as well. And they are a relative newcomer among peer-to-peer lending sites because they were launched in 2012 by ex-Googler. So they do have a quantitative sort of background here, but they have made a reputation for themselves with more than $300 million in loans and double-digit month-over-month growth. And geared more toward young professionals in their 20s and 30s, Upstart say that they want to become a place where people are not only interested in borrowing or investing, but also they want to put more emphasis on the potential of borrowers rather than static eligibility requirements. So, they kind of have more, what I would call a more idealistic view of things. And their approval process considers employment history, schools you attended, and academic performance, among other factors. So they have a more holistic approach, if you will. And Upstart is a great option for people who haven't had time to build up a long credit history. What are the pros and cons here? So the pros: they have an excellent reputation thus far, but not in the base as long as Lending Club and Prosper, for example. You have a wide variety of personal loan types, including student loans, business startup, medical expenses, and more. Among the highest maximum personal loan amounts at $50,000, which is higher than the other Lending Club or maybe even Prosper. They have lower than average APR rates. For borrowers, you have a lower minimum credit score required for approval than Lending Club and Prosper. They have received excellent customer reviews and the customer service 7 days a week via chat, phone, and emails. They have an A plus Triple B accreditation, and there is no monthly check processing fee. So if you choose to pay back the loan with checks, they're not going to charge you extra for it. What are the cons? Small business loans are personal loans and capped at $50,000. They only offer 3 and 5 year terms. There is no dedicated advisor for borrowers. The late payment grace period is only 10 days. All others are 15 days. For investors, borrowers may be riskier due to lower minimum credit score requirements than Lending Club and Prosper. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Story Kiwi Show. I want to continue today's conversation here by saying that we have talked about Upstart and Lending Club. Now we want to talk about Prosper. And Prosper, really, they've been in the game for a long time. They are actually the first company to offer online peer-to-peer personal loans, and they have actually improved their offering over the years. And what keeps Prosper out of the big league so far is that they capped their small business loans and personal loans at 35 grand. In addition, their eligibility requirements are stricter than Upstart. That's great news for potential investors, of course. And Prosper has a long history of investor backing, and they're very careful about who they approve for loans. So what are the pros and cons here? Pros, you have a solid history and reputation. They have been, as I just said, the first P2P online lender. They have the lowest interest rate out of the companies we have reviewed. There's a wider variety of loans for personal use than most, including wedding cost, baby and adoption, engagement ring, and more. For borrowers, better debt-to-income ratio to qualify than many other sites. For investors, there is a minimum credit score of 640, which is higher than most, and which means what? Well, you have fewer risky borrowers. And for investors, you also have, it's kind of easy to diversify your investments than on the other companies that we reviewed, right? Because you can choose whether you want to invest in a loan dedicated to weddings, to the adoption of a child or a new baby or engagement ring, and so on and so forth. And they have good customer service with Saturday hours. They have A+ accreditation from the BBB, and there is no monthly check processing fee. On the cons, the maximum loan amount is only $35,000 for all loans. Small business loans only available as a personal loan and capped at 35 grand, of course. For borrowers, there is a higher minimum credit score, 640, than many alternative sites. The higher upper end of APR rates we have seen in our reviews. They only offer 3 and 5 year terms, and there is no dedicated advisor for borrowers. And for investors, the investors' collection rates for unpaid loans are high at 17 to 35%. So now let's talk about, for borrowers, which lender is the best? Lending Club or Upstart or Prosper. So we're showing you right now on the screen, we have two tables. We're going to show you the first one here on the screen right now. So for borrowers, we have a comparative table. So you have personal loans. All three of them offer personal loans. For small business loans, Lending Club does, but Upstart and Prosper, they have it as a personal loan. The minimum loan amount is $1,000 personal and $5,000 for small businesses for Lending Club, and for Upstart you have $1,000 and $2,000 for Prosper. Okay, the maximum loan amount is 40 grand at the personal level for Lending Club and $500,000 for small businesses, and for Upstart you have 50,000 and for Prosper 35,000. Minimum credit score is unlisted for Lending Club and it's 620 for Upstart and 640 for Prosper. The lowest interest rate is 5.32% for Lending Club, 4% for Upstart, and 3% for Prosper. The lowest APR rate is 5.99% for Lending Club, 4.66% for Upstart, and 5.99% for Prosper. The highest APR rate is 34.34% for Lending Club, 29.99% for Upstart, and 36% for Prosper. And the approval time is 7 days average with the Lending Club, and Upstart is really fast, as soon as 1 day. And for Prosper, you have 7 days on average. And on the next table, you can see here, we have the loan terms. You have 24, 36, and 60 months for personal loans, and 1 to 5 years for small business. For Upstart, you have 36 or 60 months, and for Prosper, you have 36 or 60 months. Late fees You have it here on the screen, and the grace period is 15 days for both Lending Club and Prosper, and 10 days for Upstart. A failed payment fee, there's a $15 for Lending Club and Upstart, but Prosper hasn't listed anything. Check processing fee, there is $7 for Lending Club, there's none for Upstart and Prosper, and there is no dedicated account advisor at all three companies, and customer service hours are there on the screen, as you can see. For investors now, how appealing, how attractive is Lending Club versus Upstart versus Prosper? So we're showing you right now a comparative table here, you can see, and on the screen you can see, so the minimum to invest in Upstart is $25. Sorry, in Lending Club is $25. Upstart $100 and Prosper $25. Manual investing is available on all three platforms. Automated investing is also available on all three platforms. 401k rollover is available on Lending Club and Prosper, and there is IRA is the process is available on all three platforms. Risk grading is very important. This is an important element that helps you optimize your return on investment over time as a P2P investor. So really, that risk grading process is available on all three platforms, and the return range on Lending Club is 5 to 8%, the ROI, and Upstart has not listed that. We reached out to the company, they didn't get back to us. For Prosper, you're looking at between 4 and 11%. Monthly service fee is 1% on Lending Club as for investors, and 1% also for Prosper. For Upstart, that info was not provided. Reinvest option is available on all three platforms, and they also have dedicated customer service lines for investors Monday through Friday. One thing I want to mention very quickly for investors is that when you want to when you want to pick a P2P website, you have to care about three things, very important. First, you want to care about the risk profile. So things like risk grading, you have to think about whether you are a risk averse or a risk taker. So you got to think about the risk profile of the borrowers on the website. So that's the first important element. Number two, you want to think about the ROI over time, the historical performance of the site. So you want to have an idea of what kind of ROI the P2P lender has produced for investors in the last, say, 5 years or 10 years. So that way you are able to have an idea of what's going on with the lending website. And the third thing that's very important is that you have to think about the customer service. How compliant are they with regulatory guidelines, the customer service, all those things. What I call the reputation of a site, it's very critical. All right, folks, this is it for today's conversation. Before I go, what is our pick? What is the winner? What is today's winner? Our pick is Lending Club. And we have scored this company 10 over 10, Upstart 9 over 10, and Upstart 9.5 over 10, and Prosper 9 over 10. We have, for us, Lending Club is the best P2P website as of today, based on our analysis, and they have perfect score. They extend personal and business loans. They have higher amounts of borrowing. They have a lower credit scores requirements. It's just fantastic. So our pick is Lending Club. Having said that, please remember that the best the best P2P lending website for you depends on your situation. It depends on your risk profile, whether you're risk averse or risk taker. Depends on what kind of industry or what kind of loan niches you want to invest in. Depends on your budget, depends on your investment strategy. So there are several factors that come into play when it comes to deciding whether or not you should go into P2P in the first place. And once you decide to go into P2P investing, what kind of platform should you choose? All right. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your attention today, and happy investing. Good luck with all your financial projects, and I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.